you. Hello, everybody.
Joining me on the panel are Veena Chaudhary, Shoma Mitra, and Priyanka Khandelkar, and myself, Cam Agarwal. Arti, we are super excited to have you with us today. My first question to you is actually about the amazing title that you chose, The Day I Found the Kohinoor. And I find myself really fortunate. For those of you who don't know what Kohinoor is, it's like a amazingly large cut diamond. It's 105 carats and it's housed in it's owned by the British Crown Jewels and it's housed in the Tower of London. So I actually had the privilege to see it last year, and there's millions of visitors that go there. So yes, it's a prized possession of the British. And yet you found it. So tell me, what is your reference to the Kohinoor? What is something that's so precious and so dear to you that you found it someday?
Yes, Cam, thank you for asking that. Yes, definitely, Kohinoor is a prized possession and it is locked. It is locked. So it is hard to get to. As you said, you were the one of the fortunate ones to go and see. So here, what I'm referring to was that each one of us actually have our own inner jewel that it is hidden inside and we are the ones who have to find it and then unlock it. That's also, yes, Kohinoor is locked, but our Kohinoor, we have to unlock it from inside. So that's what I'm referring to.
So our Kohinoor that's within us, and
Yes,
yet I feel like we keep it locked.
yes, exactly.
Where is
We
that key, Arti? Where's the key?
yes, that's absolutely right. The key is in first actually knowing that there is a Kohinoor, right? Knowing that there is something inside of me that needs to be out and needs to be actually sought. One is to that knowing that it is there. Second is, okay, I'll start seeking what it is. And that's when the journey begins of seeking.
Yeah, and I think you refer to it in your story without giving most of it away. You did have a reference to there was a monk that was visiting your town, and you were told by some elder person in your family to go listen to him. And you somehow got so engrossed in the messages that every day you were seated a little more closer to him. You were kind of getting more close in the proximity to this person because you were just attracted to the messages that he was giving to you. And it seems what I'm really curious about is the you had few moments of a delightful conversation with him, and it's not that he gave you the magic button or some Aladdin ka lamp or something to solve your problems, but yet you feel and you refer to that being the day you found the key to unlock your inner Kohinoor. So my question is, does this really happen that you meet someone who's spiritually enlightened, and you have some conversations with them and suddenly your life transforms? Or did it happen for you because of some work that you had put into it, and that was the right moment and the right time and the right message that you needed to hear just to go to the next level?
Oh, wonderful question. Sometimes we think that in our lifetime that we have actually this is the moment that has actually really, we can pinpoint. But actually both are true. That is the time that I decide that first was the decision to even go to that. I mean, to listen to the uncle who actually told me. If I had just shrugged it off, I would not have gone at all. And my journey would have been different. So every moment we are actually making decisions, and one decision is leading to the other. So definitely, however we are leading our lives, it has an effect to making taking me to this moment where that moment can actually open another gateway. So definitely going through each moment and you know uh, being in tune with that moment, that moment. And I think it was, I wouldn't say, I mean, listening to him, because the trust that I had in him, I just took that step and I went there. And definitely, we think that this is this moment that actually changed, but there was a time, there was a journey behind that actually pulled you towards this moment, which was the opening of the life ahead.
Beautifully said. So it's not just one moment. It's you preparing yourself to actually be ready when that moment arrives.
Absolutely.
Beautifully said, Arti.
Absolutely. And and it's also said that sometimes we hear things so much, so many times we hear things, but when our mind is tuned to the teacher or whoever, like, and it's not just one teacher, I think I am learning from everybody, and every conversation I'm having, I'm learning, because I feel like life is a learning. And what am I going to learn today? Is, if that's the thought that I have, that's we're gonna have a different life.
Arti, I really want to talk about this part. Like, I have a daughter who is 3 year old, and
Oh,
when they told me that you're going to have a daughter, and so all our friends were telling, wait until they become a teenager. And it was like, okay, what happens when they become teenager? Especially they were telling that to my husband, like, wait till she become a teenager. So, and as a parent, right, when they're younger, we want to be that perfect parent to them, and we want to raise a perfect kid, right? Like, my daughter is like super thin and skinny. People will say, oh, you don't give her food, or like, there's so many things, right? The guilt factor as a parent we get, like just not giving enough of us. So, and you talk about that in your story, like you wanted to be a perfect mother, you wanted to raise a perfect kid.
yeah.
So what do you want to say about that now? Like, now your kids are teens.
Yes, one is out of teens.
Wow.
Yes, definitely. I think this is the problem that I had. Like, and beautifully said, Priyanka, that we think that we have to be perfect moms raising perfect kids. And, if I am working at a job, I want to perform, but we're not realizing, I was not realizing that I am in the same anxiety to perform as a mom. We never think like that, but that's the energy that we have. We're so anxious that, hey, I don't want my kids to screw up anything or make mistakes. But we forget that life is a journey. Have I not been in a journey throughout my life? I made so many mistakes, and I have been on a journey, and kids can figure it out too. If we have that faith,
Mm.
they will too. If we have, then they will too. But we just get into that perfection. It's not about perfection, it's about figuring it out. It's about how they're progressing in life, and they are on their own journey too, right?
I love that. Like, really having like them make that independent decision in their life, like giving that power to them rather
Yes,
than having them obey all of what we say, right? Like,
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So one more thing I want to ask you, like, being a parent of very young kid, like how do you balance between being a parent and a friend? And now I want to understand after the kids are teen.
Yes. Actually, when we are asking that question, how can I be a friend or a parent? I, I'm I want to question you. Why is it that it has to be a friend or a parent? When you're saying you're a friend, you want to be a friend or a parent. When you say you want to be a parent, what is the definition of a parent for you, right? And we might, if I think of my old parenting style, I would say, oh, I have to be in control, I have to have them listen to me, they should be all spick and span at all times, they have to do this. I have a whole list of how I can be the parent to to the child. So it's the energy that we are bringing in any conversation with the child, right? What is it that the child actually wants, or child or teen wants in this moment from me? I think all kids always want to to be heard. All kids always want to be connected. Am I connecting with the child first? Or am I coming with the energy? Oh, okay, you know what? You're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. Okay, this is the right way. You don't know. You don't know that? You should know by now. This is all that we do, right? I mean, I am speaking from my own experience, and that's what I was doing. And when I'm like, what is this? What is going on? Where am I off? So that's where, I mean, I mean, don't you think you connect more with friends than you connect with somebody who's controlling you? Somebody wants to
Right.
always
Yes.
tell you what
Yes.
you're
I can relate. I can relate a lot, Arti. Like, so I remember now, like when my daughter just wants to play with Play-Doh, and I want to like her do some A B C D, like not really going through the flow. Okay, if she wants to do that, let her do that. So I understand, like when you said about like how we as a parent try to control rather than them making the decision what they want to do, and let it be like that.
connect with them first, connect
Yeah,
with
connect
their
with them.
energy first. Yeah.
My personal thing is that we were raised in India and expectations from us were like the stories we were told were, was it Harshavardhan who was on that ship and his father said, just stand here and wait till I call you. And the ship burnt down and he died, but he didn't move because he was instructed to do. And we were told, like, these were the stories we were told that that's what being a good child is. So, we couldn't question authority. We were told that whatever the parents say, you do, because those were the stories we were told, right? Now we are raising our children in a completely different environment where, I totally hear you, Arti, where connecting with the kid is important. And that's a new concept. That's a new muscle that we have to learn because it didn't just happen for us, right? And I kind of sometimes struggle with the balance of if I leave it to them, are they going to play with the Play-Doh the whole time? And is the ABC is going to be pushed away, right? So I kind of found a balance of that. Like, that battle is one. But sometimes can't personally relate to the struggles of an Indian child, Indian teenager being raised in an American environment, right? Because I didn't personally go through that journey, right? So now that I have that connection, oftentimes like this happens with my daughter and me quite a bit, where she'll and first of all, I'm really grateful for the connection that you get the call when they're in a situation, right? Or when they're trying to figure something out is the right way to put it, right? So my first gut reaction is always going to be how the parenting style absorbed, right? So your first gut reaction is always to say something what your mother would have said or what you would have done, right? And then now I'm trying to grasp the situation, I'm trying to analyze it, but then there's a pause because I'm internalizing it. And my daughter absolutely hates it. She's like, say something, like say something now. I'm like, I'm thinking. Because I feel like whenever I say what is the first thing that'll come to my mind, it's not going to be palatable.
I've been through many, many, many things in my life, and like many life-changing moments. Being a mother is, it just brings you to your knees. Like anything about life, the world, people, talking, any certainty, any confidence, all of it is out the window. And honestly, like, I know in my case, it is when I threw it all out the window that's why when I was reading Arti's story, I'm like, is she in my mind? Because that's how I felt, and I know your kids are older, so I totally, I appreciate what you're saying.
And I feel
Yeah.
privileged that I to get that call, and I always feel honored
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
My question is, like, I think the resources that we struggle with is because we haven't lived their journey. Each generation brings its own struggles. And I really don't want to be blindsided with the struggles because I totally struggle with that. I feel like
It is.
I would sometimes say, well, you guys don't appreciate what you have. You don't even know what it was like to have, our life. And so I see that, but I still don't want to be blinded by that and say, ignore the struggles they have, because in their mind, their struggles and their, each generation has its own different areas to navigate that we didn't have to. I
And
mean, so
actually, Henry is
Absolutely.
so right, because every generation brings their own challenges and what they're. But the thing is, what we can do here is not repeat what we actually thought as kids went through. That okay, I'm going to make mistakes as parent. As a parent, I'm going to make mistakes, and I think to let go of that idea of that, hey, because perfection is no mistake, but I am not striving for perfection. I'm not striving for being a perfect mom. I'm just striving to be who I am, first connecting with who I am today, right now, and what is it that the child right now needs from me. So it is about we taking a step back and actually, we will do ourselves a favor by doing, because with all of these things that we do, constant checking, we are in a constant state of anxiety.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just take a deep breath, and I am in this, I have this faith, all will be well, because I have built that trust with the child. And it is, again, as I was saying before, it is the way that all, it's not today, he or she is a teenager and the trust will come right away. They will not give you a call unless the life that you have lived before with them is about, always about connection and being a friend, right?
and I love that fact that you have to let go of perfection.
I went through exactly what Arti went through too myself. I was like, the thing I've got to do here is first, all of that is my attachment. How is she going to behave? What is she going to do? When is she going to text me? Where is she? What is she wearing? That's all my notions.
And
Like literally.
which is absolutely right. When you when you said the word, it is all my attachment. It is what, one biggest lesson that actually has come to me is by teaching other kids. So when they're in the class, doesn't matter how they're behaving, I'm just looking at them being them. And when I come home, how are you sitting? Don't sit like this. Why? That one aspect is the attachment that this is my child and my child must behave this way. Why? Who said that was a being in the class where there was a being, and this is a being too. We are all beings. We're all divine beings on a journey, right? So that's the part that we need to break. And it's not easy, of course. And it is every day that being conscious. Am I present today? Am I present today? And that's the only way.
I also think a job of the parent is to in some ways be present and connected, but also let them learn from what is right and wrong, right? Because that is part of our job. And then as a child, I think their job is to test limits. I always feel their job always is to test limits. So if there is yelling, if there is, questioning what your authority, they are doing their job. And I feel that's a happy place to have, happy medium, because that's going to create conversations and find solutions, right? So that's
Absolutely. And when you said about their finding their own way, and also if we are concerned that okay, being their friend, and just like before you said, then they're going to forget the ABCs. I mean, will they keep playing with the Play-Doh? That's where the setting of boundaries come in. We are not saying that just leave them on their own, because they are figuring it out and they actually are looking towards us to say, hey, am I doing it right? Or they are actually, they won't say it, but they are, so am I doing it right? Or this is, but I like to push, as you said, but yes, that is where the set of boundaries come in, that we can. Yeah.
It's interesting because we are a wide spectrum. Here we have Priyanka, who's got a very little child, 3 years old. My daughter is 33, so I'm on the other end of the spectrum, where I've been there, done that, gone through all of these, that you all are talking about, pushing the limits, and, how we parents have tried to control. And I've gone through all of these, the morning sessions where, trying to get them to school and on the bus and screaming and all of that. So I'm coming from someone who's a little bit ahead on the journey. And you know what? There's a Khalil Gibran saying, like he's written, that we bring our children they take birth through us, but they are on their own journey. And we have to let them do that. And, and there's, on the other hand, there's another thing where my husband used to say that when we were bringing them up, and I was going absolutely berserk, because sometimes I thought I was just, my two kids were the most bizarre kids ever, because they were just, and he'd say, look, we are there to be there in the background. Let them choose. We give them their values, but let them follow their own path. Let them stumble and fall. We are there to pick them up. But that's, step back and let them go on their own journey, because they have to learn where they're going. As long as we give them the right values, that will never go away. My question to you, Arti, is because your story started from your father. And I loved that bit where he taught you, the mathematics. And I really, because my own dad is a mathematician and scientist and all of that. And I'm hopeless at maths. But somewhere the genes didn't filter in through. But, I loved how you brought the generational thing from your father to yourself. And then I loved the way you wrote about, in the garden, and you're sort of going into a different realm and you're watching the children. So tell me about these generational gaps, and what is your what is your take on bringing our children from generation to generation, and where does spirituality come into all of this? From your father to you and then to your children. Are you inculcating that? And how important do you think it is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shioma, for asking that. Definitely when we talk about the generation, it's not necessary for me in my life. My dad or mom, they never controlled me. Means yes, of course there were boundaries, but my dad especially would always ask me for everything. What do you think, Arti? I felt that I was heard. So at all times, and here I was not doing that. And then I had to go back. And when I said in the story, when I say that I don't remember that's what I wasn't raised like this. I was, and why am I doing this? So, and also when you talk about the journey, and how I go through spirituality, and I think that's the crux of it, because we all are, in essence, one spirit. Each one of us is a spirit, right? And in the soul embodied in a package, all of us are coming as a different package, and all of us are being on this journey. If that shift I can make, and not easy, if that shift I can make and say that, hey, if I am on this path, I am on a journey, so is my son, so is my daughter. Haven't one of the things that actually we have gone through in our childhood, certainly I'm sure you all can relate, that it was either engineering or medicine or law. Those were the three things. And of course, I also fell into that, became an engineer, but having no love for it. Literally no love for it. What love I had was for children. Right from the beginning, I had love for children, right? And here we are. I didn't want to uh, do the same thing. That why just three? And US, and we have a lot of opportunities. Kids have, but again, so when my son actually he said, I want to be in the music industry. Now, music industry is some entertainment industry is so alien to us. I mean, we're all a family of science and math and engineering and doctors, and here he says, so Beta, I don't know. We don't know anything about it. You're the one who has to actually really explore this and see where it's going to take you. What kind of a job? Again, that mentality of, oh, job, or how much money will it earn, etc., coming in. Then pausing back again, same thing. I am a being here going on my journey. And I must remember that I was not forced. It's just that society that, hey, dad is a engineer, uncles are engineers, I'll be an engineer because that's the thought I had. But after so many years, I'm not on that journey anymore. I completely shifted myself to all this yoga, meditation, and coaching and all that. So if I'm figuring out at the age of 40, why can I not let my son figure out at the age of 18? Why can't he? And he's smart. He can figure it out. I not have that faith in him that he can figure his life out? Of course, I must. And faith comes in, and that is completely spiritual, knowing that we are one essence, one being on a journey, having that faith that each one of us is going to do the right thing, that is actually, if it doesn't work out, then that was the journey that he will learn from, and I'm no one to interfere in that path. So that's the thought I always keep bringing in. And of course, with that faith, surrender has to come. Surrender has to come. I am surrendering. Oh, at times I'm inside. I can see myself inside. I don't know if this is going to work out. No idea. But can I still step back in that moment, that, making that pause a little longer, so that, Cam, as you were saying, making that pause a little longer, and, you know, uh, thinking, what is it that I must say, right? And if we are on that journey, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing that we are creating that pause. And my daughter says, I remember mom used to be like, like, what are you doing? And like that. And now she says, okay, let me think.
That's so right. Because, see, because you're allowing them to do, whether it's a music industry, or they will never have any regrets.
Yeah.
Whereas in our case, like, just for my example, like, I wanted to be a commercial artist, and I had got into the government art college. And that was something very, very difficult to do, because in those days, getting into government art college was um, really hard. Anyway, I was one of the few that got in. And so I came to my mother and I said that, I've got into this thing. And she said, what are you going to, this is after my year 12. And I'd got good marks, marks and all that. And she said, what are you going to do? I said, commercial art. She said, what's commercial art? I said, you see those big billboards and they have all this thing. I want to, do that. And she looked like she had fallen off her chair. She said, okay. And she's a very patient person. She said, yeah, okay, you can do it. Why don't you just go get a proper degree first and then go do what you want? Yeah. And so my commercial art went out the window, because I never ever got the proper degree. I got the proper degree. I never went back to art college, but I still love art. And so that regret has always stayed with me, that maybe I could have done, this is why I love doing film editing. I love doing graphics. I love doing all of this, but it's because I was probably never allowed to try. Maybe I wouldn't have been a commercial artist. Maybe I would have come back and, done my literature anyway.
I remember, I remember my mom actually saying this. Now she's almost 78, 80, or she'll be 80 soon. And I remember when I was little, I went into her drawer and I saw these beautiful, not journal, but I don't know what it's called, but recipes of amazing confectionery things. I said, oh my goodness, beautifully written, all recipes and everything. And I said, oh mom, what is this? I used to make, and I used to love culinary, and I did the hotel management. I think she was a gold medalist in some culinary thing, and I wanted to pursue hotel management. but she never got to, right? She never got to. And here, my parents, okay, she never got to. My parents never like said anything, but because and it was just a cultural thing that we didn't know and that there was any other way. So they didn't say anything. They didn't impose anything. And for me, like there are so many avenues. So who am I to impose anything? Go explore, and we know that you will find it without regrets. You'll find your own journey and your own destination.
Absolutely. But you know what, I must admit, and I have to say this, when my son was 12 years old and he came back to me and said from school, he said, they asked us to write, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I want to be a bricklayer. So when he was 3 years old, he wanted to be a coke truck driver, which was still acceptable. Then he came back to me and said, I want to be a bricklayer. So I said, bricklayer, what is a bricklayer? And we'd only come into Australia then. I had no idea what that bricklaying was a profession. And he said, oh, they earn $50 an hour. And I want to be a bricklayer for the rest. To be honest, there was that pause moment because I thought, oh my God, here goes. My son wants to be a bricklayer. So yeah, I totally get it. But our children have way more opportunities. And I think, we as moms have grown and we're not the same that we were. But definitely, and I think your message in the story is so beautifully written. It's so beautifully you've sort of put it together that I love the way it's done. So thank you for that. And bringing all the threads together, like the spiritual aspect, bringing up your children, and the learning that you got from your father.
Yeah.
It ties in beautifully.
And I do I do believe in my heart that moms have more to say in the kids than dads. I mean, it's quite little bit, that's how it is. So how much more responsibility we have, in the sense that what I feel that we're the spiritual heart centers of the family. And if we are not filling ourselves up, then we won't be able to have room for others, for them to blossom. Others meaning kids or everybody else, to blossom in their own way, because we haven't taken out the time within ourselves to blossom our own self, because we have shut it down. We have not, so if we can do that, that would be a great service to ourselves and others around us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you for inspiration for women who are going through those, mothers who are going through those pause moments in their life, but you kind of summarized it so well, and you kind of, as if like you read my mind. What a beautiful note to end it at. And I think, like you rightfully said, that the quality of all our relationships actually begins with one relationship, which is yourself, and going inwards solves all the problems. So thank you so much for being with us today, Arti, and having such wonderful conversations. We just can't wait to read more about the day you found